Create Art Podcast. Project National Poetry Writing Month 2022. Hello, friends. This is Timothy Chemo Bryan, your head instigator for Create Art Podcast, where I use my 20 plus years of experience in the arts and education to help you tame your inner critic and create more than you consume. This month is National Poetry Writing Month, and this is the third year in a row that I am going to be doing NaPoWriMo, as it's known. Now, what's this all about? Well, it's actually something that started up a long time ago, about 2003. And it was done by Maureen Thorson. She's a poet that was living in Washington, D.C., and it was inspired by National Novel Writing Month. And what she did is she posted her poems on her blog, and other people started, writing poems in April and hosting them on their own blog. Now, Maureen linked to them, and after a few years, there's so many people doing NaPoWriMo that Maureen decided to launch an independent website for the project. Now, as far as me, I've started writing poetry back in 1988 when I was exposed to T.S. Eliot in my honors English class in high school. Started reading poetry to the public in 1992 while I was in Abilene, Texas at Espresso Europa coffee shop. I put out my own books of poetry, starting way back in 2007 with Throwing Myself at the Ground and Missing. And then 2008, Postcards from Somebody You Don't Know. And then 2010, Wisdom from the Sack, where I did the National Poetry Writing Month. I did 60 poems in 30 days and put out a book for that. And then the latest one, 2017, Shaving Crop Circles in My Chest Hair. Again, that was a response to doing a Word of the Day challenge. Now, like I said, in 2009, I started participating in it, and I've been a huge proponent for it. This is my third year doing it on the show, so I hope you enjoy. All right, so we've made it to April the 17th, and here's our poetry prompt today. It's another fun one, and I gotta say, all the prompts have been pretty fun this month. It's a prompt developed by comic artist Linda Berry, and it asks you to think about dogs you have known, seen, or heard about, and then use them as a springboard for wherever they take you. And before I get started into today's poem, I want to do a special shout out, which I don't do enough, and I need to do more, but I'd like to do a shout out to I've got listeners in Spain and Romania and the UK and Iran, of all places, and India and Ireland. And I think I know who it is out in Ireland. I believe that's Ronica Merrill, who I interviewed on the show the first episode of 2022. So I want to thank you all that are outside of the United States that are listening to these poetry prompts, and I hope you're getting something out of them. And I would be remiss if I did not mention my good friend York Campbell up in Canada, who is always shooting me a lot of encouragement and a lot of ideas. So this one's called Obadiah. The first and only canine that allowed me to be their caretaker for a short while we were staying at the parsonage because my father couldn't hold a job. You were eternally happy, and I was not the kindest soul at the time. This was an effort by my father to spite my mother. Just another one of their never-ceasing battles. He knew she was allergic to pet dander, and he wanted someone to show him unconditional love. But it was up to me to feed, clean the mess, and walk you. It pained me that we had to keep you in the basement, watching you run up the stairs as I left for school, hearing you scratching at the door during night storms. But because I was afraid of the dark, I never came to your rescue. I don't remember asking for a pet, as I knew this domicile was temporary. But there we were, and you came into our lives, nipping my father's fingers, licking my face for hours. You were the only friend at the time. And then one day, after school, you were gone. My brother said I left the basement door open and you escaped sometime during the day, but the locks were still in place and the screen door was rusted shut. So, I took my beating that night, in the shadow of the church that housed us. We named you after a minor prophet in the Old Testament, one of the shortest books in the Bible. It wouldn't have mattered if I had known you were released to fend for yourself. There wasn't much this 12-year-old could do to keep you alive. And I played stupid when one of the kids at school told me about a stray dog that his family had taken in. I want to thank you for tuning into this special episode of Create Art Podcast, National Poetry Writing Month for 2022. I look forward to seeing the comments that you can put on the website and let me know what you think of the poetry. And I want to know if you're writing poetry. Drop me a few lines. Let me take a look at it. I'd be happy to help you self-publish your book or give you advice or good context that I personally have to get your poetry out there. Reach out to me, Timothy at createartpodcast.com, and let me help you tame your inner critic and create more than you consume. Let me know if you'd like to be on the show or talk about any of the topics that we do present for you here. Until next time, go out there and create art for somebody you love, yourself.